Hey Divine Ones, it is LATOYA O'Keel, and I am a life coach and a business mentor for other life coaches. I train and certify life coaches in just 3 days, and I'm also a minister, and I be bringing that word too, baby. So if you are interested in that, that sounds like something that is interesting to you, make sure you click that subscribe button, make sure you click that bell so you can get your notifications every time I upload a video to the channel. So I'm gonna let y'all get a little bit in my business today. We're gonna be doing a little story time. Now, I be seeing other people do their story times and stuff. Let me tell y'all right now, I'm gonna give y'all a little, forewarning. I'm not that well rehearsed, or I'm not, just really good at storytelling. I tend to kind of jump back and forth. Like if I were putting together a movie, you would probably get annoyed with my movie because it'll be like, it'll go into one thing and then it'll jump back 5 years ago, then it'll come back to the day, then it'll jump back 20 years ago. Yeah, that's the type of movie I have because that's the way I tell my stories. So y'all excuse me if I'm a little jumpy all over the place, but make it make sense and put it together, okay? So on this video, I want to do a story time with you about when God told me to quit my job. Yes, he did, baby. Let me tell y'all. So, I'm a divorced mother of 3 children. I have 3 children. I am a divorcee, however you want to say it. I'm divorced, okay? So, I think I'm going to start the story round up in around that time. My divorce was finalized in 2017. July of 2017 was when my divorce was finalized. And so at that time, I was still living in Georgia. I'm born and raised in Georgia. So I was still living in Georgia at that time. And so I was working as a security guard, a part-time security guard at the time at the time where we separated, I'll say that. I was a security guard. Y'all see what I mean? So try to follow me, okay? At the part where we separated, I was a security guard, okay? I left the job as a security guard to work at another company, a better company. This job was everything. I love this job. Now, this job was in Alabama. So I was living in Georgia, but I was working in Alabama. So the commute got to be a little bit too much for me. So I ended up moving over to Alabama, which made me about, I went from being an hour away from my job to probably like 10, 15 minutes away from my job. So me, my 3 children, we packed, my 3 children and my dog at that time. Rest in peace, Munchie. My dog passed away a few months ago. But it was me, my 3 children, and my dog. And we moved from Georgia just right over to Alabama so that I could be closer to my job. Now, when I tell you it was really hard for me and I struggled a lot I struggled during the marriage. So, yeah, and then after the divorce, I was still struggling because, my bills and stuff was behind, and I had broke down vehicles, and, I was just broke, busted, and disgusted, baby. I was a hot mess, okay? Let me go and tell y'all that. I was a hot mess. I was not the woman that you see now, that you see today on this YouTube channel. That was not who I was. I was broke, busted, and disgusted. Robbing Peter to pay Paul, depressed, just didn't have no peace, didn't have no happiness, didn't have no joy. Just trying to hold it together for my 3 babies. Because, by the way, I had 3 babies in 5 years in that marriage. So I had 3 small babies. So when we divorced, my babies I had 3 kids, 6 and under, to take care of, to raise. So, it was a struggle for me. It was very hard. So when I got blessed with this particular job, I love this job. Like it was the people there was just amazing. I was so broken when I first went to that place. When I first got there. So back up a little bit. Y'all hang in there with me now, okay? Back up a little bit to right before I moved to Alabama. When I was living in Georgia, that was when I first came to the job. So I was already working there, like I was saying, yeah. I was already working there when I was in, before I moved over to Alabama. Of course you was already working there. Toya, you moved there because the drive was too long. Y'all follow me, please. We gonna work with this, okay? We gonna work with this. So I come over to Alabama. I fall in love with these people on this job. I love them so much. I was so broken when I got there, and they just took me in, and they just loved me, and it just wasn't no judgments. It wasn't nothing. They were an amazing group of people to work with. They'll always have a place in my heart. Like I loved every single person that I worked with at that particular job. And like I said, it was the best job I ever had. I had never made that much money before on a job. I had never had that many benefits. The benefits were great. You know, the pay was really great for what I did because I didn't really do anything hard. So the pay was really good and everything was just nice and perfect. And I was like, God, thank you so much. You blessed me with this job. Oh, God, I thank you. God has blessed me to be able to pay my bills, get a better car. Me and my kids upgraded our car. We traded in that lemon and got us a better ride. And so everything was just going, you know, everything was going. It was good. We were blessed. And I'm like, Lord, thank you for giving me this job. So fast forward, I come out of a relationship, okay? This is fast forward to after I come out of a relationship that I had been in for a little while. So I'm in the breakup stage of this relationship, and I was getting ready to go back into that relationship. I just know it. You know how you break up and it's like the first couple of days and then y'all ain't really broke up, so y'all end up getting back together. That's where I was at that stage. So I was getting ready to get back with this person. And this is how I know the way purpose works. And this is how I know that when it's time for you to come into your season, that you're like the reason for you being born, like when it's time for you to do what God put you here to do, he ain't gonna let you or nobody else get in the way of that. Because let me tell y'all, I was sitting at my desk one day at work. And like I say, I love my job. Didn't have no complaints about my job. It was a great job. But I had started getting to the point where I felt like I should have been doing more than what I was doing. I felt like I just wasn't doing enough. I felt like I was disappointing God, like I was letting God down. And because I felt like, you know, the job was super easy and it didn't require that much effort from me. So I knew that I had a lot in me, but I just wasn't using it. And then I was tired of getting up every day with this Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday mindset. You know, only living for the weekend, only living for Saturday and Sunday. And before you know it, if you blink and the weekend is gone, y'all know what I'm talking about. That's the way I lived for so long, and I was just tired of that. So I had started looking for something else, but I didn't know what I was looking for. So I knew that what I was doing hadn't been working. It wasn't working for me, and I wasn't gonna be able to keep doing that. Now, I was not broke. I had money because it was a really good job. So, you know, I had money. I had a nice vehicle. Me and the kids had moved over to Alabama, had a nice place to stay. So, I mean, everything was okay in that aspect. But internally, I was so unhappy. I was so miserable. I was so, you know, just broken still on the inside because I had not healed from my past, from the marriage and all that type of stuff. And, you know, it's no wonder that the relationship didn't work because where I was internally, what I had going on the inside, is no way it was going to work. But I can say that now looking back on that situation. But I was at a place where it just, I wasn't fulfilled. I couldn't do it no more. And I just started looking. So from my spirit, from my soul, I started looking for something. Didn't know what I was looking for. But I knew that what I was doing, I couldn't keep doing it. So I was looking for something else. And I stumbled across this person one day on Facebook. I stumbled across this man. And he was selling something. He was selling a program. But you had to watch a video before he like introduced you to the program. And the guy was real loud and stuff, and he was just like all over the top. And I'm like, who is this man? What is he doing? It was just something. You know how you be scrolling, you see the ads on Facebook. It's like, okay. And by the way, I was a big scroller on social media. I scrolled because I didn't do nothing on my job, but it was super easy. I used to just sit there and just scroll social media for hours. So just not being productive, not doing nothing with my life. So I'm just sitting there one day just scrolling, and like I said, I see this dude, and it was just something about him that normally I would have went past that video, but I couldn't stop. It was pulling me towards that video. Something was just pulled like a magnet, and I was just so drawn to click on the link and watch the other video that he was offering. So I sat there and I watched the whole video, and after like an hour, they, sell you something at the end. They offer you something to buy. And the product was a digital product. It's like a mindset program. It was a digital product. It was like maybe like $37. Now at this time, I had a scarcity mindset. I had a scarcity mindset. So I felt like if I bought something, I'm just like, no, I ain't got the money for that. I can't afford that. That's too expensive. I was just so quick to say stuff like that. So I was hesitant about getting my card out my wallet and paying for it. But when I tell y'all, I started feeling that pull on me again. Something else was pulling me like, Toya, this is what you're supposed to buy. You've been looking for something. You don't know what you're looking for, but this is what you're looking for. Like, now that I'm saying it, that's the way I was feeling. But see, at the time, I didn't know what that feeling was. It was just something that was just pulling on me, pulling on me, pulling on me. And so I went with it, and I bought the product. So I bought the product, and immediately I actually had to work 12 hours that day. So on this particular day, I was at my job for 12 hours. So it was around the evening time. It was around the evening time, and I'll never forget this day because I was just so curious about what he was talking about. Right after I bought it, I went right into the product. Like, you get the download, and then I went right into the material, and I started watching the videos. And he had some audio files up there too. So I started listening to the audio files. And then it was something that he said on the file that just caused me to stop in my tracks. And that was the first time that I can remember that I really meditated. Like it put me into a meditation, and it was like it wasn't like a, meditation, what you hear all the time, hear people. It was something different about it. It was just the words that I was listening to him speak. It was like it spoke to my soul, it spoke to my spirit, it spoke to what I needed to hear. And it was like immediately my soul knew that, Toya, this is what you've been looking for. This is what's gonna change your life. And so, like I say, I could say that now looking back on it, but in that moment, I didn't know what that feeling was. I just knew that whatever this was, it was pulling on me, and I just had to do it. So I'm listening to the track, and immediately when I heard that, he pulled me in. I was zoned in then, because he had, in that one audio file that I listened to, he took me to another realm. He took me to another level, another dimension that I hadn't never been in before. So that locked me in right there. That's how I know I can tell y'all the power of meditation is real, because that locked me in right there. So I was like, okay, I gotta get more. I gotta get more about this. I gotta learn more about this. So when I tell you that I just literally threw myself into this product that I had bought, and I started watching all of the videos. I was listening to the audio files every day, because those were the instructions. You had to listen to the files every day, and you had to watch the videos every day. And I was just doing everything that was on there for me to do, and I just lost myself in it. And I turned everything off. Every single thing. I wasn't watching no TV. I wasn't listening to the radio. I stopped scrolling social media. I deactivated all my accounts. I ain't do none of that. This is why I was still working at the job. So I'm trying to make this story time as quick as I could, but I see it ain't gonna be quick. But if y'all got to pause it and come back to it, I understand that too. But I have to tell you this in order for it to make sense. So as I'm going through everything, I'm coming into like this period of enlightenment. Like I'm coming into this period of awakening. I'm starting to find myself. I'm starting to hear the voice of God even more clear. Now, was it something so special about that product? Probably wasn't. No more than what you would have bought from any other mindset product. Any other thing that I tell y'all every day on this channel. It's no different from anything else you hear from me about shifting your mindset and listening to the right thing and isolating yourself and getting from around negative people and negative radio and TV and music. It's no different from what I tell y'all every day on this channel. The only thing that was different was because I had already said within myself that I'm looking for something, that I need something. I need something. So I already had it within myself that I was in search of something. So when I heard it, it was like, that's it. That's it. So what I'm telling you from that is you can watch my videos every day and they may not do nothing for you. Because within the inside, internally, from your spirit and from your soul, if you are not in search of something else, if you haven't gotten to the point where you're sick and tired of doing what you're doing because it's not working for you and you're in search of something else, then what I'm saying is just words. It don't mean nothing to you. Don't mean nothing to you. But once you say within yourself that I'm tired of living like this, I don't want to live like this no more, and I want something else, and you start searching it out from the inside, then these words gonna hit different. Y'all listen to what I'm telling you. This stuff I speak to you every day, it gonna hit different then. Because what this man was speaking to me at that time, it hit different. That's because I was looking for something within myself before I even got to that. I was looking for something to shift my situation. So I went through a period of isolation, went through that. So as I'm going through this period of isolation, I isolated myself from my church. I stopped going to my church. I didn't get back in the relationship that I was in. So I left the relationship. I left my church. God was telling me to leave this, leave that. And I'm like, okay, I'm leaving. But baby, when it got to the job, when he told me I needed to leave the job, when it got time for me to leave the job, I'm like, Now say what now? What you mean? Yeah, huh? Yeah, so when he told me the first time, I pushed it off. Then it came back again. Then I pushed it off. Then it kept coming back again. Then I pushed it off. Then it kept coming back. Then I'm like, okay, this ain't gonna leave me alone. I ain't gonna be able to get no rest from this. So when it came up to me quitting my job, once I kept struggling with that thing on the inside of me. Because I told God, I said, God, you gave me this job. You blessed me with this job. Now you telling me to quit? And God told me, he said, when Jesus was in the boat with Peter, and when Peter got up and he saw Jesus out walking on the water, he said, he took me back to that experience. And the Holy Spirit began to minister to me from that experience. Now, before I went through that period of isolation, I couldn't hear the voice of God. Until I shut other things out and other people out, I couldn't hear God. He was speaking, but I couldn't hear him. But once I started getting quiet and I shut everything off and everybody else off, I could hear God loud and clear. It was like thunder in my ear. I could hear him loud and clear. So God said, Jesus put Peter in the boat, and then he told Peter to get out of the boat. Because when Peter saw him walking on the water, he said, Lord, if that be you, bid me to come to you. And Jesus told him to come. He told him to get out of the boat. So God he said, I'm the type of God where there may be a season where I will put you in the boat. And he said, there will come a season where I will tell you to get out of the boat. I said, wow, this is what God was telling me at the time he told me to quit my job. He said, it's time for you to get out the boat. And he said, it's time for you to walk on this water. So I'll never forget this day. I left the job and I was headed to go pick up my kids from daycare. And I pulled over in a parking lot before I went and got my kids from daycare because I needed total silence before I called my supervisor. Because I knew once I called my supervisor, it was out there then. Like, it wasn't just a thing in my head or in my mind no more. Like, it's out there. So I pulled over in a parking lot. I'm trembling. I'm trembling now that I'm thinking about it. I was trembling and just shaking and just afraid and so scared, so nervous. My nerves were in a wreck. I felt like I could have just threw up right then and there because I was just so nervous. Ever since God had spoke that word to me and told me to quit, I was so nervous. I was so nervous. And yes, of course, I thought about my finances like we would all do. I told God, well, you know, what about this and what about that? And the Lord specifically told me, he said, I am going to take care of you. And he said, I gave you those children. And he said, I'm going to take care of you and I'm going to take care of those children. He said, do what I have told you to do. Do what I have instructed you to do. And you'll know when God done told you to do something, because if you ain't did what he told you to do, he won't say nothing else to you. He won't say nothing else to you. He get quiet on you until you do what he told you to do. Then he start back speaking. That's how it is for me. So I wasn't hearing nothing else. That's all I was hearing. Quit this job. Quit this job. Quit this job. So I couldn't take it no more because it was getting louder and louder. And then it just felt like every day that I sat there at that desk, I felt like I was going to explode. I felt like I was just, oh. And I stopped talking to people. I couldn't talk to nobody. You know, when we would have lunches and stuff at work, I'd just be isolated. I would be by myself. I would be in the bathroom a lot because I would be meditating, because ever since I caught on to that power of meditation, I was meditating 2 and 3 times a day. Like I was just trying to get away and just meditate and get in that quiet time with God and just be by myself, and because I was finding myself. And so it was just amazing how, you know, I was just uncovering and discovering stuff. And so every time somebody came up and said something to me, I felt like I just got kind of annoyed, because I felt like, you know, you interrupting what I'm doing, you know. Then I would have my earpods, my earplugs in my ear, because the type of job I had, you know, I was able to do that. So I would be constantly listening to motivation all day long. I wasn't watching no social media. I wasn't watching no trash videos, no reality TV shows, no scary movies, none of that. I stopped watching all of that. And I only fed my mind with motivation. I listened to sermons. I listened to audio books, to podcasts, to motivational speakers. That's all I would listen to all day long. And so eventually, as I'm sitting there on that job, I just couldn't even do it no more. I couldn't do it no more. I loved that job. And, you know, it was just a wonderful opportunity. We would go on, you know, like we would go on to different conferences every year and stay at nice hotels. And it was just such a great experience, the best job I ever had. But I remember that last conference that we went on, and this was during that season of my changing, my shifting. I was miserable. Do you understand me? The hotel that we stayed at was so beautiful, but I was so miserable. That's how I know that it ain't got nothing to do with what's going on the outside. If your inner is not right, if your spirit is not at peace, if you ain't got rest within, it's going to be turmoil for you. Like, I don't care if you're in paradise. You won't have peace unless you have it within. And you only get that peace from doing what God has told you to do and from being in your purpose. So I just couldn't do it no more. People kept coming up to me asking me, Toya, what's wrong? What's wrong with you? Are you okay? Do you need a hug? Are you okay? Because I wouldn't talk to nobody. Like, I would just be isolated from everybody. And I'd be somewhere off by myself with some earplugs in my ear. I wasn't talking to nobody. You know, when coworkers want to, you know, go up to the bar when we would be out at the conferences and stuff, normally I'd be up at the bar with them, give me a drink too. And they would ask me, I'm like, no, I don't want to drink. They'd be like, what? You don't want to drink? What's wrong? They'd be like, what's wrong with you? I'm fine. And that's another thing. I would never tell people too much information. The only thing I would say to people is, the most information I would tell them is, I'm working on something right now. That's what I told my mama. I called my mama. I'm like, because I talk to my mama all the time. We text message all the time. I told her, I said, look, I'm not crazy. Ain't nothing wrong with me. I'm just working on something right now. So, you know, don't call the folks on me. Ain't nothing wrong with me. I'm just working on something right now. Even the guy that I was in the relationship with, I was even telling him, I was very careful about different things that I was saying to him at that time. Because I ain't want nobody to try to talk me out of what I was doing. Because I knew that I was on to something. And I knew that the more I, you know, went through that process, the more I was learning about myself and finding myself out in new ways and discovering more things about me. and discovering more things about God and the kingdom. And I didn't want nobody to get in the way of that. So I knew if I started telling people what I was doing and all this new knowledge that I was learning, because my brain was just exploding at this time. I was just getting all kind of knowledge and revelation. And so I didn't want to tell nobody, because I didn't want nobody to try to talk me out of it. So be careful who y'all tell what you're doing when you're going through your process. Don't tell nobody. Tell them as less as possible. So I called my supervisor, told my supervisor, I can't be on this job anymore. I said, I'm giving you my 2 weeks notice. And y'all, that killed me to give the 2 weeks notice, because I knew now that everybody was going to know that I'm leaving my job, and now I got to sit here for 2 weeks. I got to sit here for 2 weeks and fight people out my business, because y'all know we nosy creatures by nature. We nosy creatures by nature. Human beings are nosy. So when something happens, they want to know why. Why? Why are you leaving? What's going on? And I know a lot of it is, they just cared for me. We were like a family. It was all from a place of love. But that was like a really difficult time for me, when God had spoke to me and told me what to do, because God had gave me the vision then. He gave me the vision for the YouTube channel. He gave me the vision for the podcast, gave me the vision for the Divine Ones, for my business, for everything. Before anything started manifesting, God started speaking to me while I was still on that job. And he said, this is what I have for you. And he took me up in the spirit and he showed me. I can't tell y'all everything he showed me, but just know that he showed me some great and mighty things. And then he told me to quit my job. So I'm thinking, okay, now how am I supposed to get to that if I quit my job? And I had to do it, y'all, because he wouldn't speak anything else to me, and I just felt like I was going to explode if I stayed there. So I put in the 2 weeks notice. Whole time after the 2 weeks notice, I got to, deal with my coworkers, questioning me. What's going on? What's going on? Why are you quitting? Why are you leaving? Is it something that we can do? And like I said, it's just them speaking. They were speaking from a place of love. I know they were, because we were like family, because we spent so much of our time there together. We would work a lot. So, it's like, okay, Toya, it was just kind of out of nowhere. Why are you leaving? But I could not explain it to anybody, because I knew that if I tried to explain what I saw, people were going to think I was crazy. People were going to think something was wrong with me, and I didn't want nobody to talk me out of what God had told me to do. So I knew people were going to say, Toya, you got these 3 babies. How you going to take care of these 3 babies? You crazy. You quitting your job? Why would you quit your job? But they just didn't understand what I saw. God had showed me what was to come. He showed me the vision. And I knew that the success, that the greatness was there, but it was going to take sacrifice. That's what the Lord told me. He said, you got to be willing to sacrifice something. He says, there can be no success without sacrifice. And the Lord said, in this season, I'm calling you to sacrifice this job. He said, you got to give up that paycheck. Glory be to God. That's what he told me. I said, now let me tell y'all something. It's hard to give up something when that's all you got. It's hard to give up something. I feel like the widow. It's hard to give up something when that's all you got. You want me to sacrifice this and this is all I got? And God said, yes. He said, sacrifice that. So I gave it up. The best job I ever had, the best pay I ever had, I gave it up. Now, I had means to take care of me and my children. God had provided a way to take care of us, the basics. So when I say the basics, I mean the basics. Everything that was not essential at that season of my life, it had to go. It had to go, yeah. If it was not absolutely necessary and if it was not essential, and needed, I had to go without it. I had to go without it because that was part of the sacrifice. So, it was hard. It was really, really hard, going through that of quitting my job and doing what God told me to do. And I'll never forget, the last day that I was on my job. No. It was the next to the last day, because they did a going away party for me. They did like a farewell party for me, all my coworkers. And so it was the next to the last day that I was at work. And so I go in and they do the surprise thing, and they surprise me with the cake, and they all came together to give me some money and all that type of stuff as I'm leaving, as we're doing the farewell party. And that's when all of the emotions that I had been holding the whole 2 weeks just exploded right there. And I just had a little breakdown and I started crying because I knew that that was the end of a chapter for me. I knew it wasn't the end of my story, but that was the end of that chapter. And I thought about all of the experiences that I had with this group of people, this amazing group of people. And I thought about how much I grew while I was there. I grew so much while I was there. Like, I know that God sent me there right before my season of purpose. He sent me there for a reason, because there was some growing that I needed to do before I came into my season. So all of those emotions just spilled out, and I just started crying. They thought something was wrong with me, because they were thinking they hadn't heard me say nothing, give them no information. Every time they'd come and ask me, why are you leaving? I'd just be like, I can't talk about it right now. I had rehearsed what I was going to tell them. I told them, I said, I prefer not to talk about it right now. That's what I said. So that's what I would say to my coworkers. I just prefer not to talk about it right now. And they're like, was this something going on with the kids? Is this something going on with, do you got to move back to Georgia? What's going on? I prefer not to talk about it right now. And so, and I gave one of my coworkers, I gave a little bit more information. I told her I prefer not to talk about it right now. And I told her, I said, when the time is right, we'll have the conversation. Glory be to God. I felt like Abraham. When he spoke those words of faith as he was going up to sacrifice his son. And he told them, he said, me and my son are going up to worship. And he said, and me and my son are coming back down. So Abraham knew that even if he did sacrifice his son and killed his son, that God was able to resurrect him. God was able to bring him back, or either God was able to provide a sacrifice for him. Jehovah Jireh, he is a provider. Glory be to God. That just made me, think of that. But I spoke from a place of faith, and I told her, I said, when the time is right, we will have the conversation, and it's going to make sense. It's going to make sense. She said, okay, and she left it at that. And so I left, and then after I left, I took off, baby. Do you hear me? I took off. Because, see, when I was on that job, I had already started the podcast, but it was like I just couldn't really get into my thing. I couldn't really get into my thing because, the type of job that it was, I wouldn't say I was worried about what my coworkers would think about me when they see me on social media, but I just knew that they were just going to be kind of like all up in my business with it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just didn't have the freedom to, just be who I wanted to be and do what I wanted to do, because you know how sometimes on your job, it be words said about what you're doing on social media. And the enemy will try to use people on your job to try to block what you're doing for God on social media, So I just wanted to be free. And God told me, that's why he told me to leave my church, leave my relationship, leave my job. He said, because I need you to get into a place where you can only hear my voice. That's what God told me. He said, I don't want you to hear from nobody but me. He was telling me, he said, I don't want you to listen to your boyfriend. I don't want you to listen to your pastor. I don't want you to listen to your supervisor. He removed all strong influences from my life so that I could only hear him. Glory be to God. But I had to be obedient too. When he told me to do it, I had to do what he told me to do. I had to end the relationship and not go back. I had to, leave my church. And that was very hard for me to walk away from my church because I love my church. I had been there for years. Still a member there, but I just have to be obedient and do what the Lord is telling me to do. And, the ultimate sacrifice was leaving my job, because that was the way that I took care of me and my children. That was my way of earning, winning the bread, getting the bread. So by me doing that, that was me telling God that I trust you to supply my bread. I trust you to do it. I trust you. Now, I'm going to give y'all a disclaimer. Don't nobody go quit their job because they listen to this video. Don't you be talking about, no, okay, I trust God. I'm going to be like Toya, I'm going to quit my job. No. Do not do it, okay? Do not do it. And that's just like how Tony Gaskin be saying. He don't teach the exception to the rule, because everybody is not the exception to the rule. Some people quit their job and they have to end up going back to their job. So that may not work for everybody. You just have to work with whatever works for your unique situation. That's why I have a course of where I teach people exactly what you need to do when you're transitioning from your job to your dream full time. Because I know the mistakes that I made, and I know the things that I did, and I want to educate people from that. Because I want you to do it the right way. I don't want you to just jump and not think about nothing else, but I want you to do it the right way. So after I left, like I said, I took off. I created the podcast. I created the Divine Ones. I created the Divine Ones probably like the next day after I left the job. I created the Divine Ones. And then opportunities immediately started opening up for me. Because my youngest son, Kari, he has autism. And so it was always an issue for me. He was diagnosed with autism at the age of 3. So it was always an issue for me to get him to therapy because I'm over here in Alabama and I don't have any family to, you know, be here to help me with the kids like that. So it's just me and the kids. And then at that time, I'm working 40 hours a week, you know, and then on one of those days, I'm working 12 hours. So it was hard for me to get him to therapy because I didn't have the time, the paid time to be able to leave work. They weren't going to let me keep leaving to go and take him back and forth to therapy. And he needed to be in therapy. So after I left the job, literally the same week as the last day from my 2 weeks notice, I got a phone call. Now, Kari had been on the list for ABA therapy for a while. The week that I quit my job, I got a phone call from ABA therapy saying that they had an opening for him and that they were ready to take him. Now, you tell me that that ain't God. And I did not have to pay a dime, for it. So ABA therapy is applied behavior analysis therapy. I think that's what it stands for. And it's like the best therapy that an autistic child could have. And they work with them every day. If they want to come every day, they told him he could come every day. He was there for hours every day. They take him on and they just teach him, you know, just how to be in the midst of other children and just how to do basic things that other kids do so naturally that he was struggling with. And so that was a blessing right there. Soon as and that was God showing me that you did right. You did what I told you to do. So now that you're off, you're not at a job, you can take your child back and forth to therapy, and you don't even have to pay for it. He's getting the best top of the line therapy, and you don't have to pay for it. And my child just took off from there. Like his speech improved. He was taking speech and occupational therapy along with that. Doors just started flying open because I was obedient and I did what God told me to do. God took care of me and my children. And so fast forward to now, I'm a life coach. I'm a certified life coach, and I'm a business mentor for other life coaches. And I train and certify life coaches in just 3 days. 3 days. Now I'm going to tell you how God told me that I was a life coach. He told me I was a life coach. Basically, it just came to me because I was already doing it. I've been doing it all my life. I've been doing it ever since I was old enough to talk. I've been coaching people. And my sisters will tell y'all that. My cousins will tell y'all that. I always been the go-to person. I'm always the person they can call, talk to, vent to me. I'm a great listener. They can, I'm not going to interrupt them when they speaking, all that stuff. My coworkers used to come to me. Everybody, well, you want to talk something out, you just go sit up there with Toya, go to Toya's desk, and that's just the way I always been in any job that I worked at. So whatever your purpose is, you already been doing it. You already been doing it, and it's not that hard for you to find out. It's not that hard at all. And I'm actually putting together a purpose course. I'm putting together a purpose course because, like I told y'all, I'm only working with life coaches right now. Only working with life coaches right now. So that's those are the people that I'm working with. But I still want to be able to offer something for everybody. So y'all know I talk about finding your purpose all the time. I want you to look into this purpose course that I'm creating, because by the time you finish this course, if you do it right, you're going to know your purpose and you're going to know your gifts. Okay, because I'm telling y'all, that's what shifts your life, changes your life, because that's what shifted my life and changed my life. And I actually had that same coworker that I told y'all, that I had told her, I said, when the time is right, we'll talk about it, we'll discuss it, but I just can't talk about it right now. She texted me after she started seeing a couple of my videos that I was doing, that I was posting, and she reached out to me one day and she texted me and she said, Toya, she was like, I'm just so proud of what you're doing. And she said, it makes perfect sense to me now. She said, it makes sense. She said, I didn't understand what you was doing back then. It seemed crazy to me that you would just up and quit your job and, you know, with your situation. And I was just concerned and worried about you. And she said, but it makes perfect sense to me now. She said, it's no need for you to explain. She said, I know exactly why you did what you did. And y'all, I'm telling you, when I read that text message, it was just so warming, so comforting to me. You know, I know that the guy that I was in a relationship with, I know he had his times where he thought I was crazy, because it was just like, you gonna quit your job? What? You gonna quit your job? Now, come on now. How you gonna? Because I used to be so afraid to lose my job, and I went from being afraid to lose my job to like, I'm gone. I'm quitting. Like, I'm up out of here. So, yeah, and I know my mama, she had her doubts too, you know. And so that's why I had to get by myself, because I couldn't listen to these people. Because had I listened to these people, I would have never did what I did. I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing now, and I wouldn't be sitting here talking to y'all on this YouTube video today, baby. Okay? So don't listen to people. Do what God told you to do. Walk your own path. Now, just take caution, take precaution, and make sure you plan ahead and make sure you save your money so your transition can be smooth. Now, my transition was not rocky. I do have to say that. I was blessed to not have a rocky transition, because I did plan. But that's why I put together the course, because I put the things in there that I did plan for, and I also put the things in there that I didn't too much think about. Because I want you to have a completely smooth transition from your job to your dream. Because it's possible. It's very possible. So, you know, I just want to tell y'all, just give y'all a little story time with me today. Excuse me if I just kind of jumped all over the place, because like I said, I'm not good at telling stories. You know, I made it work though. We made it work. But if you have not registered for my masterclass, I'm teaching a free masterclass on Sunday at 5 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Eastern. I think that's going to be about 3 p.m. Pacific, I think. But yeah, whatever time you fall in when it's 5 p.m. Central Time, that's the time of the masterclass. Make sure you click the link in the description below. Register for the masterclass. This is for life coaches or anybody that's thinking about becoming a life coach. Any aspiring life coaches or any new life coaches. This is for you, okay? So make sure you sign up for this masterclass. It's free. And, you know, it'll be very helpful for you to decide if you're kind of on the fence about life coaching. Let me tell y'all, when I made my move, when I quit my job, God had not told me that I was a life coach at that time. When I quit my job, I quit to do the podcast and to do YouTube. Those were my only plans at that time. I said, I'm going to do the podcast and I'm going to have a YouTube show. I'm going to create a YouTube show. And so, yeah, that's what I did. The podcast and the YouTube show. And then I didn't really have much because I wasn't working, so I couldn't buy nothing. And I remember when I started the YouTube, I ain't have no clip. I didn't have no tripod to put the phone on, baby. I stacked up some books. I stacked me some books up. I got all the journals I could find in here. I got all these children notebooks and everything. And I stacked up me some books, and I propped my phone up on that book. And then I said, I need something that's gonna hold my phone a little bit better. So I took a plastic cup, a red plastic cup. You know the plastic cups you get from the dollar store that you throw away after you drink out of them. I took a red plastic cup and I turned it upside down, and I took me some scissors and I put a slit at the bottom of the cup. Now I turned the cup upside down, then I put me a slit right there in the cup. So that made a little holder for the cup. So I stacked up the books. I put the cup upside down on top of the books, and I dropped my phone right there in the little slit that I made on the bottom of the cup. And that was my phone holder. that was my phone holder. And that's how I did my videos until I was able to get me a a phone holder to hold my phone while I recorded my videos. That's what I did. That's what I did. And I recorded my podcast on my phone too until I was able to get that mic right there and start doing my podcast episodes on. And I just worked with what I had. Work with what I had until God started blessing me with more. You got to show that you faithful. You can't get mad because you ain't got what everybody else got. If you ain't got the drive, the motivation, you ain't got the work ethic. You got to study to show yourself approved. You got to show God that you're going to be faithful. And he'll send the blessings into your life. I'm a witness to that. I'm a witness to that because I'm seeing more and more blessings every day. Because I take what I have and I work with it. I don't let that stop me. So take what you have today. You may not have nothing but scraps. Take them scraps and get started, okay? Take them scraps and get started today. So I'm finna let y'all go. Oh my goodness, I've been talking for 45 minutes. This video is supposed to be 10 minutes. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, y'all. But I had to get some stuff out. I had to get that out. I wanted to do that story time with y'all about when I quit my job. So yes, I might have to, I think I'm gonna title this, God told me to quit my job, my church, and my relationship. He told me to quit all of it, baby. Do you hear me? It probably gonna be some folks mad from this video, but forget them folks. Y'all know what I tell y'all. Forget them folks. Okay, so I'm gonna let y'all go. Y'all be blessed. I love you so much. I love you so much. Make sure you're registered for the masterclass for life coaches. Now listen. Oh, this is what I forgot to tell y'all. Now, if you watch this in the future, this does not apply to you. But to the people that's watching this today or, during this relevant current time right now, if you booked a discovery call with me, look for an email from me. You will get an email from me with our next steps, what our next steps would be, okay? If you've booked a discovery call with me and you have not spoken to me yet, check your email because you're going to get an email from me, okay? So I'm going to let y'all go. I love y'all so much. Y'all be blessed. I am LaToya Okia. I am a life coach. I am a business mentor for other life coaches. I train and certify life coaches in 3 days. So get in on this because I want to help you do what I've been able to do. If you feel that you can do this and you feel that that's the area that God is calling you in to do, come see me, baby. Come see me, okay? I love y'all. I'll check in with y'all later.